took me 18 years to find my first deep human being. 18 years. It can be. It was a monk and a mystic. A mystic monk, believe it or not. And he was the first person in my life that I could talk to about some particular paranormal experiences that I'd been having since I was a child. I tried talking to my family about them when I was 12, and I just got blank stares and also sort of semi-concerned looks. And so I realized straight away, okay, this is a bit much for people to handle. And so it wasn't until I was 18 that I met a monk who I could talk to about them. And he had knowledge of them. He knew. He had a connection to his own experience, which he then guided me into the knowledge of what do you do about it. So I was raised in a haunted house, what I believed to be a haunted house at the time, with ghosts, And when I was 12, I had my first episode of sleep paralysis, where I was visited by dark entities, dark forces that were terrifying. And from being 12 years old, probably twice a week, 2-3 times a week sometimes, I would have weird, varying manifestations of sleep paralysis along with hauntings. And I couldn't talk to anyone about it because, like I said, I tried to speak to a couple of people and nobody knew about it. So nobody knew anything about it. Interesting. Did you have any weird experiences, Jesse, yourself? So I learned, after I'd started to meditate, I learned within about 2 months of starting to meditate that sleep paralysis is the start of an out-of-body experience. That's the beginning. If you can put your body to sleep and keep your mind awake, which is what's happening in sleep paralysis, your mind is still awake, but your body is asleep, then you can learn to essentially leave your body behind and have an experience of mind consciousness, which is not physical. So for me, because of I didn't know this at the time, and I didn't know this growing up, but the terror, I was terrified of these ghosts, because I grew up in a haunted house, and I had all these paranormal experiences around ghosts, and they were extremely scary, and I'd heard all sorts of scary stories about them. So I had developed an intense fear of the paranormal. And because I was having this sleep paralysis experience, my conditioning kicked in, and I immediately associated it with ghosts and spirits, which was terrifying. And so my mind was manifesting very dark forces. So I was doing it to myself because of my terror, but I didn't know this until I started to meditate. So I lived with that from 12 years old, the sleep paralysis thing, 2 or 3 times a week. And then when I was 18, I started to meditate, and that's when I learned that I was doing it. Because of my terror, I was manifesting darkness and demonic forces. My mind was literally creating that, because it's like a dream. When you're having a dream, your mind is manifesting that on the spot. You're literally generating a hologram, a holographic experience that you are inside. And it feels physical anyway. So once I learned that, I realized, oh wow, I actually just have to not be afraid. If I can not be afraid, there is no fear, and so there is no darkness. And now, well, that's when things started to get really, really interesting. I got over the fear, and I started to go into the mind itself, and this is where I gained my insight into what mind is. So it was a blessing to grow up in this haunted house environment and cultivate this terror. Believe it or not, it turned out to be a blessing, and it pushed me towards, well, mysticism and monasticism. This monk, by the way, I moved in with him, and I lived at his monastery for about 5 years in training going into this. Well, most people do think you're crazy because they don't have any kind of association to it. They don't understand it, Jesse. Even modern psychologists, psychiatrists, they have no groundwork. They can't look past the brain. It's a similar kind of problem that we've talked a little bit about on the channel already with the psychology. They only have associations to psychology and hallucinations that occur within the brain. They think that's what you're talking about, but you're not. It's much deeper than that. We're talking about the nature of the mind, not the brain. And so psychology can't go there, psychologists can't go there, psychiatrists can't go there, doctors can't go there, scientists can't go there, because we're talking about a non-physical dimension of consciousness. So we've got a problem. We've got a real problem on our hands when it comes to communicating about this, understanding it, sharing this experience. Yeah, it's a lot of people have the wrong idea about it, though. You can look it up if you want to watch a really interesting documentary. It's called something like The Nightmare or something like that. Hello, CJ. Yeah. Right, I'll just quickly say this, and then I'll give you another little bit of insight into my experience, CJ. If you look it up, called The Nightmare, now you got to watch it very carefully because it's about these dark shadow beings. It's all very scary, but you watch it from the point of view of seeing how people interpret these experiences. They think it's some kind of evil force, malevolent entity. They have not yet made the connection that it's their own mind that's materializing this stuff. In order for me to make that connection, I started looking into Buddhism and the teachings of the Buddha at the time. And as soon as I heard this, the whole cosmos, everything in the cosmos is a manifestation of mind. This is according to the Buddha and his teachings. The whole cosmos is a manifestation of mind. So I heard that, and straight away my thought went, so it must be my mind. These forces that are attacking me and visiting me. I had experiences of being totally paralyzed in my body and being pulled. My body is totally paralyzed in bed, and I've woken up and I can't move. And my body and me is pulled out of my bed, under the bed, into the darkness. So anyway, that's just one of the examples. So I made this connection straight away. It must be my mind that's doing this. And that's when I started to look into it. Okay, I need to go into this experience consciously to see what's going on. And that's what you have to do if you want to get over the fear. So when I was 17, CJ, so I used to like drugs, okay. When I was younger, I used to like Valium and benzodiazepines, sleeping tablets and stuff like that. So when I was like 14, I started taking them. And when I was 17, I realized if I go to my doctor and tell them about this experience that I'm having at night, I can probably get some sleeping pills. And so I did. And the doctor said to me, "You've got a mild psychosis." And I knew straight away that that's not what I was experiencing. I already at that age had enough insight to know that society in general doesn't have any insight into what's actually going on, and that it just puts these labels on the brain as if it's some kind of disorder. So anyway, that was my first encounter with this term, psychosis. Yeah, Nisa, that's what it is. It's a manifestation of your own mind. So it's your own mind that will let go and release it. Terrifying manifestation. Yeah, okay, interesting. This is the thing about ghosts and the paranormal. It's mind made. That doesn't mean it's not real, but it means... Sorry, it doesn't mean it's not happening, but it means that it can only operate at a certain level. If you can rise above that level, what you were experiencing, you see it in a different light. So you can rise above it and you can transcend it, which means you can let go of it. In terms of your consciousness, you can move beyond it. So multiple people who are all operating at the same level of consciousness will have these experiences, shared experiences, which makes them think it's real, not realizing that they're all operating at the same level of mind, which is why they're all experiencing it. If one of those people evolves their consciousness and goes deeper into a deeper dimension of the mind, they will see the unreality of that experience. But the other people are stuck there, they will still be experiencing it. You got to understand, this is how you get stuck. You are the consciousness that gives rise to the entire universe. That's what you are. And yet, you're stuck inside a body and you think that's you. People talk about enlightenment and awakening. They don't really acknowledge what that means. People say, I'm a spirit in a body and I'm universal consciousness. Yes, you are. So you live with a total awareness of the consciousness that gave rise to the universe. You live with that on a daily basis, do you? Because that's what you are. So if you still think you're a human being and you're still stuck inside that body, what happened to this universal consciousness that you said you are? Anyway, the reason I bring that up is because the way this consciousness operates, it's possible to get stuck in delusion, like being stuck in a dream. You are the consciousness that gives rise to the entire universe. That's what you are. And if you can't remember that, well, how far off track have you gone in your manifestations, in your bodies that you inhabit over and over and over again? How far off track have you gone if you can't remember the cosmos, your true identity? So the only reason I bring that up is not to poke fun or say, nothing negative, but this is why all of these various religious beliefs exist, these experiences of the paranormal, because it all operates at a certain level in which you can get stuck. And so unless you rise above it or go deeper, depending on which way you want to look at it, you will stay stuck there. That's how karma works. You have to evolve. You have to step out. Otherwise, you just keep reincarnating at the same level. So yes, we have ghosts and spirits and all of this stuff. Demonic forces, demonic energies, social corruption and insanity at a certain level. Yes, all of those things are there. But at any point, if you go deep enough and you look deep enough into this present moment, which is what it comes down to, meditation we're talking about, you can leave it all behind. Now that doesn't mean you're not here. You still have a body, but you also have everything else that's going on. The rest of you, the real bigger picture. This is a full real identity. This is not just the stuff that people talk about. People talk about this stuff psychologically as if it's a nice idea. But we're talking here about the real, actual realization. of enlightened consciousness which is in touch with all of life everywhere in the universe. Awareness itself, the real thing. The thing Jesus went looking for and the Buddha went looking for. And of course, it's within every single human being. It's in your mind, it is your mind, it's my mind. It is this life unfolding everywhere. And what led us into this conversation is society in general today, right now, with its unbelievably limited perspective on what it means to be alive. Society is going in a very, very different direction, scrambling on top of each other for profit and greed and materiality. It's literally the opposite direction to enlightenment. So hopefully that explains why some of you have been feeling a little bit out of place.